G'day team, and welcome back to Overheard in the Emergency Room, the show where we take the real, sometimes raw, sometimes heartbreaking stories from the emergency department and turn them into practical lessons for your long-term health. I'm Dr. Cois, emergency physician, and you have made it to the season 1 finale. If you've been with me since episode 1, thank you so much. Genuinely, you're the reason that this show exists. And if you're just joining, you have picked a great place to land because today we are pulling everything together. This episode is a little different. There's no single ED case to anchor us today. There are 14 of them. Every patient, every story, every lesson from this season is what brought us here. And rather than introduce one more case and pretend it summarizes the whole year of conversations, I want to do something more useful. I want to give you the playbook. Here's what I've noticed across this season. Whether we are talking about the 34-year-old with incidental fatty liver, the gentleman with a textbook NSTEMI, the woman who got booted from her primary care physician by her insurance company, the shift worker with a skull recovery score on their wearable device, or my co-worker asking which supplement would stop her from getting sick. Every single one of those stories ended in the same place. Tier 1 foundations: diet, movement, sleep, stress management, and having a primary care physician that's in your corner. That is the playbook. It is so boring. It likely won't make me go viral on social media, but it is what actually moves the needle on the question that matters most. How many good decades can you get, and how few bad days are you going to have along the way? So in this episode, I'm going to do 3 things. First, I'm going to walk you through the 5 tier 1 pillars in the order I think that actually matter. And yes, I'm going to start with the one that almost never gets top billing. And for each pillar, I'm going to give you specific actionable steps you can start this week. Not vague advice, but specific steps. And third, at the end, I'm going to point you to a free resource we've built, a 16-week Recapture Your Health roadmap over at drcois.com. That lays all of this out so you can actually do this. Before we get going, please hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells for the channel so you don't miss what's coming in season 2. If you've been listening on Spotify or Apple, please leave a rating. It genuinely helps other people find the show. And then come and meet me at drcois.com, where every episode has a companion blog post and the references, and where you'll find the free 16-week roadmap that I mentioned earlier. Right, let's get into it. So we'll start today where most longevity podcasts end, because most longevity podcasts will lead with the supplement stack, the cold plunge, the wearable, and the peptide protocol. They will get to the primary care physician somewhere around minute 47, if at all. I'm going to do the opposite. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. The single most evidence-backed longevity intervention is having a primary care physician. Not creatine, not zone 2, not your sleep score. The primary care physician. I know that doesn't trend. I know it isn't sexy, but it is the truth. And this is a hill that I'll die on. There is a paper I want every listener to know about. It was published in JAMA Internal Medicine in 2019, and it's out of Stanford and Harvard. They looked at every county in the United States between 2005 and 2015, and they asked a simple question. When an area gets more primary care doctors per capita, what happens to life expectancy? The answer was clean. For every additional 10 primary care physicians per 100,000 people, life expectancy went up by 51.5 days. When they did the same analysis for specialists, that's cardiologists, oncologists, surgeons, the gain was only 19.2 days. Let's read that again. 10 more GPs per 100,000 people buys you 51 days of life on average. 10 more specialists buys you 19. And it gets better. When they tracked people who moved between counties, those who moved to higher PCP areas gained as much as 114 days of life expectancy per decade for every additional 10 PCPs. And the kicker, over the same decade, the per capita supply of primary care physicians in the US went down, especially in rural areas. So when wellness influencers tell you that primary care is broken and the real action is in some private longevity clinic charging $4,000 a month, What they are doing is selling you a service that the data does not support, while siphoning you away from the service the data actually does support. Now, let me tell you what your primary care physician is doing for you that is invisible until it isn't. They are screening you for cancer, the colonoscopy, the mammogram, the cervical screen, the lung CT for smokers, the prostate conversation. Catching a cancer at stage 1 instead of stage 4 is the difference between a procedure and a funeral. They are screening you for cardiometabolic disease, your blood pressure, your lipids, your fasting glucose, your A1C. Catching pre-diabetes before it comes diabetes, hypertension before it comes a stroke, dyslipidemia before it comes a heart attack. These are the slow diseases with fast endings, and the only way to interrupt them is to catch them early. They are vaccinating you. Influenza, COVID, shingles, pneumococcus, RSV, Tdap, HPV. Every one of these shots is a longevity intervention with randomized controlled trial evidence behind it. They are managing the chronic conditions you already have, making sure your blood pressure medications are working, that your statin is at the right dose, that your diabetes is controlled, that your asthma inhalers are doing their job. And this is the part that most people forget. They are the ones that know you. The diagnostic value of a physician who has seen you for 10 years or who notices that something is just a little off today is something no AI, no wearable, and no supplement company can replicate. The continuity is its own intervention. Compare that to the alternative. Not having a primary care physician is a strong independent risk factor for recurrent emergency department use, hospitalization, and of having worse outcomes when you do present. The patients I see who don't have a GP are not making worse choices. They are making the choices the system has left them with. Show up at the ED when things get bad because there is no other door. So here is my standing recommendation, and it will be the first action item in your roadmap. If you do not have a primary care physician, get one this week. Not next month, this week. Call your insurer, ask for a list of in-network family doctors or internists who are accepting new patients, and book the next available physical. If the wait is months out, and unfortunately it often is the case, book the appointment anyway and put it on the calendar. Future you will be grateful. And if you already have a PCP, do not change them lightly. Continuity is the medicine. 20 years with the same doctor is a longevity intervention. Okay, with the foundation laid, let's talk about the other 4 pillars that sit on top of it. If primary care is the slab the house is built on, diet is the framing. I've said it on this show before and I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. The single biggest controllable lever you have over your long-term cardiometabolic health is what you put in your mouth, day after day, year after year. Not a single meal, but the pattern. It's the defaults that you turn to. It's what you do 80% of the time when no one's watching and you are tired and the easy thing always wins. This is what season 1 has taught us about diet, distilled into 5 steps that you can start this week. Step 1. Track what you currently eat. You cannot fix what you have not measured. For at least 1 week, I want you to track everything that goes into your mouth. I use Chronometer and I have no kickback from this company. And I don't have an affiliate code. There are plenty of other tools that do the same job. The point is that almost everyone is shocked by what they see when they track a week of honest eating. You'll find the protein gap, the fiber gap, the hidden calories from the drinks, the Tuesday night that did not feel like a big deal, but somehow it added 2,800 calories. A week of tracking is diagnostic. It tells you which of the next 4 steps you actually need to lean into. Step 2. Build your fiber up to 30 to 40 grams a day, but do it slowly. This is one of the highest leverage swaps we can do in nutrition, and almost no one is hitting it. The average American eats about 15 grams of fiber a day. The target, the one that lines up with cardiometabolic disease prevention, colon cancer prevention, and a happier microbiome, is 30 to 40 grams. Here's the trick though. Don't jump in overnight. Your gut will retaliate and you will be bloated and miserable and you'll quit. I want you to add about 3 to 4 grams of fiber per day for the first week. Then layer another 3 to 5 on top of that each subsequent week until you hit your goal. 5 grams of fiber is not that much in real food terms. A medium apple is around 4 grams. A cup of cooked oats is around 4 grams. Half a cup of black beans is around 7 grams. A cup of raspberries is around 8 grams. A tablespoon of chia seeds is around 5 grams. In the free 16-week roadmap on drcois.com, we are including a one-pager that shows the fiber content of common foods at realistic serving sizes. Apples, bananas, sweet potato, kale, spinach, tofu, an overnight oats recipe. Whole grain servings like bulgur, quinoa, brown rice, and farro, chickpeas, black beans, edamame, and seitan. Stick it on your fridge. Glance at it before you build a meal. Step 3. Get over 30 unique plant species on your plate each week. This one comes from the microbiome literature, the American Gut Project work, and the broader observational data that shows plant diversity is a stronger predictor of microbiome health than any single dietary pattern label. And while 30 plants a week might sound like a lot, it really isn't. Every herb counts, every spice counts, the onion in your soup counts, the cumin in your dal counts, the blueberries on your oats count. The mixed nuts on the way home from work also count. In the roadmap, we have included a fun family scorecard for this. The rows are blank, so each person writes in what they ate that day, and the columns are for each family member. Stick it on the fridge for a week. Make it a game with your kids. Whoever logs the most unique plants by Sunday picks the family movie. You will be astonished how quickly you push past 30 when you make it visible. Step number 4. Swap 3 meat meals a week for a plant-only meal. And you don't need to be a vegan. And this is coming from someone who calls himself a vegan. I have no quarrel with people who eat meat. The data does not say eat 0 red meat. The data says the average Western diet has too much red and processed meat and not enough plants. And the fix is to shift that ratio. 3 meals a week is a tractable, evidence-aligned starting point. Use tofu, use tempeh, use seitan. Use chickpeas, black beans, or lentils. Or, if a fully plant meal feels like too big of a leap, swap red or processed meat for some sort of oily fish, salmon, sardines, or mackerel. And while we are here, let's talk about your protein target. For most adults, you want to be hitting somewhere around 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. If you're 80 kilos, about 176 pounds, that is roughly 80 to 95 grams of protein per day. If you're doing serious resistance training, push that up toward 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram. The goal is to get the bulk of your protein from plants, and preferencing fish if you're still eating animals. Step 5. Make 80% of your plate whole plant foods. This is the simplest, most repeatable framing in all of nutrition. Most of your plate, most of the time, is whole plant foods. That's vegetables, fruit, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. The other 20% is everything else. Animal proteins if you want to eat them, dairy if you tolerate it, or the occasional treat. That's it. That's the whole pattern. It is what the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, the Okinawan diet, and basically every Blue Zone pattern have in common when you strip away all the regional decoration. Whole food, plant predominance. In the roadmap PDF, we have included a graphic very similar to the USDA MyPlate image, but turn this into an 80-20 plant forward framing. Print it, put it on your fridge, use it to build your meals. That's diet. It's boring, it's repeatable, but it's incredibly effective over decades. If diet is the framing of the house, exercise is the wiring. You cannot see it, but it powers everything. Some people will argue exercise is the biggest health lever you have. Some will argue that diet is bigger. Honestly, they are both so high leverage that splitting hairs between them misses the point. You need both. You need both. So let's break exercise into 3 buckets that really matter. Bucket number 1, resistance training. You need to be lifting weights. Not should, not if you have time, you need. The target is resistance training at least once a week, ideally 3 times a week. The structure is very straightforward. Hit all your major muscle groups. A general template is 4 exercises per session. 2 lower body, 2 upper body. A squat and a lunge for the lower body, a push-up or bench press, and a row or pull-up for the upper body. Do 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions. Pick a weight where the last 2 or 3 reps feel really hard, where you can maybe only do 2 or more reps, but not really much more than that. Now, there is generally interesting nuance from the new resistance training guidelines that came out from the American College of Sports Medicine recently, and we covered some of that in episode 3. But here is the short version. Pick a weight you can lift with good form for the rep range you have chosen. Leave 2 or 3 reps in reserve and slowly increase the weight you lift over weeks, and vary the exercises every month or 2. If you've never lifted before, work with a trainer for a few sessions to learn correct technique. It is the best money you will spend on your health, and it's a lot cheaper than a wellness subscription. Why does this matter so much? Well, because muscle mass gets you off the toilet when you're 75. Muscle mass is what catches you when you stumble at 80. Muscle mass is your fall insurance, your bone density insurance, and one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality we have in the older adult literature. Sarcopenia, that's the age-related loss of muscle, is the silent disease that nobody talks about, but will put you on a collision course with every frailty-related disease in older age. Bucket number 2, cardiorespiratory fitness. Your second job is to push your cardiorespiratory fitness up, specifically your VO2 max. Cardiorespiratory fitness is one of the most consistently powerful predictors of all-cause mortality and cardiovascular disease in the entire epidemiologic literature. The landmark Kadama meta-analysis from 2009 pooled 33 studies of over 100,000 participants and around 7,000 deaths. People with low cardiorespiratory fitness had a 40% increased relative risk of mortality compared with the intermediate group, and a 47% increased risk of cardiovascular disease. The high fitness group did dramatically better than both. For every 1 MET increase in aerobic capacity, that is roughly 3.5 ml per kilogram per minute of VO2, your risk of dying in the next decade drops by about 15%. For context, that is a similar effect size to going from a high LDL to a low LDL. There are 2 ways to increase your VO2 max, and you should be doing both. The first is Zone 2 work. Zone 2 is the low intensity aerobic exercise, typically defined as the intensity at which you can hold a conversation. So brisk walking, easy jogging, easy cycling, swimming laps. The physiologic basis is that Zone 2 trains your mitochondria, the energy factories in your cells, to burn more fat efficiently, improve your metabolic flexibility and your endurance base. The second is interval training. Here you work very hard, 90 to 95% of your maximum heart rate, which you can roughly estimate as 220 minus your age, for 2 to 6 minutes, then rest for 2 to 4 minutes, and repeat. Doing 3 to 5 sets will be plenty. A classic protocol that works extremely well is 4 sets of 4 minutes hard with 2 to 3 minutes rest in between, the so-called Norwegian 4x4. This is what I used with the professional athletes I coached in Australia. But the same template works for a 55-year-old trying to extend their health span. The form of the exercise doesn't really matter. It can be swimming, running, cycling, using any of the machines at your local gym. A great template for someone starting from a low base is 2 to 4 easy Zone 2 sessions a week, 1 interval session a week, and over 10,000 steps a day at baseline. And here is the most important point from the research on this, and we covered it in episode 3. The systematic reviews that have compared Zone 2 to high-intensity training head-to-head consistently show that training volume matters more than training intensity for improving cardiorespiratory fitness. Don't get paralyzed picking between Zone 2 and intervals. The best plan is the one you will actually do, on as many days of the week as you can. Bucket 3, incidental activity. The third bucket is the one most people ignore, and it is the one that matters most for the average person. Incidental activity is all the movement you do that is not exercise. Walking from the car to the office, taking the stairs, walking after dinner, cycling to work, standing up from your desk every 30 to 60 minutes, carrying the groceries. The simple way to think about this is that your body was built to move. Sitting still for 12 hours a day is a physiological insult, and no amount of 1-hour gym sessions can fully compensate for it. So, park in the furthest parking spot. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Ride your bike to work or school. Take a walk after dinner, and that one is gold. It doubles as digestion support, stress reduction, family time, and your daily step counter all at once. Aim for 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day, every day. If you're not there, don't panic. At 1,000 steps a day, each week, until you get there. And that's exercise. Resistance training, cardio, incidental movement. 3 buckets, all of them necessary, none of them optional. Sleep is the third pillar, and you really need to start thinking about it differently than you probably already have. If you are like most adults, sleep is something you fit in at the end of the day. It is what happens after the work and the parenting and the Netflix episode you said 5 times would be the last one. It is the variable that gives way when the rest of your life asks for time. If you want to flip that, treat your sleep like it's an Olympic sport. Approach it the way an elite athlete approaches their training. With intention, with infrastructure, with non-negotiables. Here is how to do this in 4 steps. Step 1, curate your environment. I read a book when I was in medical school called Barefoot Investor. The author recommended a brain trick where you pick a couple things in your life where you would spend your money like you were a millionaire. Spend it on those couple of items that really bring joy to your life. That resonated with me. Here I was, a late 30s shift worker, not even realizing how important my sleep was. I did not buy a decent pillow until I was 38 years old. Until then, it was $20 pillows from Target. I may as well have been sleeping on a pillowcase full of cotton balls. Once I understood what sleep was doing, especially as a shift worker, I finally justified spending real money on my sleep space. And I don't mean that as a flex. It's an acknowledgement that investing in your sleep environment is the same as investing in your retirement account. The compounding is enormous and invisible until it isn't. That means you need to have a comfortable mattress, high quality sheets, a pillow that fits your neck and your sleep position. Try a few brands. Most have a 30-night or more trial. Block out noise with white noise machine or earplugs. Make the room dark. Blackout curtains or shades are non-negotiable for shift workers and useful for pretty much everyone. Get the room cold, around 20 degrees Celsius or the low 60s Fahrenheit. And this is the soft skill of sleep. Negotiate with your household. That's your family, your roommates, pets. Get everyone on board with protecting your sleep window. Step 2, set your anchor. Most people anchor their day with bedtime. That's the wrong anchor. Anchor it with wake time. Your wake time should be the most consistent thing about your day. And the reason is physiologic. Your body has a natural morning cortisol spike, sometimes called the cortisol awakening response. That's what gets your engine running. As the day progresses, cortisol falls. In the evening, as light fades, melatonin rises and tells your body it's time to wind down. By morning, melatonin is low again and cortisol rises and you wake up. A consistent wake-up time stabilizes that whole rhythm. It tunes your circadian clock. It makes falling asleep at night easier. You can supercharge that morning anchor by getting outside and getting sun exposure within the first hour of waking. The morning sun on your eyes, not through a window, not through sunglasses ideally, is the single most powerful circadian signal we know of. 5 to 10 minutes is plenty. If you can layer in some morning exercise on top of that, you're pulling 2 of the most powerful sleep levers we have at the same time. Step number 3, activate your off switch. This is the bit most people miss. You cannot sprint into bed. Your nervous system needs a runway. Plan a wind down, 30 to 60 minutes before you want to be asleep, ideally, where you actively downshift. Dim the lights, put the screens away, read a book, do some stretching, do some slow breathing exercises or meditation. Whatever your version of the off switch looks like, build it in and treat it as a non-negotiable of your Olympic training routine. And I'm going to expand on this much more in the next segment because nervous system downregulation is its own pillar. And the same skill that helps you sleep is the skill that helps you handle a stressful day at work. Step 4, hack your physiology. There are 3 big levers here. 1, leverage the sun. Morning sun for the wake-up signal. Your pineal gland, which releases melatonin, is calibrating to this exposure. This will optimize your stress and sleep hormone responses. 2, avoid alcohol close to bedtime. Acute alcohol before sleep does this nasty trick. It actually shortens sleep latency at first, so it feels like it helps you fall asleep, but then it disrupts sleep architecture later in the night. It fragments REM sleep, increases awakenings, and trashing the restorative phases. You wake up technically having slept 8 hours but feeling like you slept 4. Number 3, do not eat right before bed. Studies looking at population level eating to sleep intervals have shown that people who do not eat within an hour or so of sleeping have longer sleep duration on average. My personal rule is no food within 3 hours of bed. The physiology here is straightforward. Digestion is metabolically active and you sleep deeper when your gut is not working overtime. So that's sleep. Curate the environment, anchor the wait time, build an off switch, hack your physiology. Do those 4 things and your sleep score will sort itself without the fancy variable. And the next pillar is the one with the worst marketing in all of medicine. And I want to take a moment to rescue it from the wellness industry that has trampled all over it. When I say meditation and relaxation, I'm not talking about candles and crystals and lavender essential oil. I'm not talking about a 20-minute guided body scan delivered by an app charging you $89 per year. Those things can be fine if they work for you, but they are not the point. What I am actually talking about is a skill, the ability to deliberately downregulate your sympathetic nervous system, the ability to take yourself out of fight or flight and into rest and recover on demand in 30 seconds or less in real life without sitting on a meditation cushion. That is a learnable and trainable skill. It's a surprisingly evidence-based capability and most adults have never been explicitly taught how to do it. The single most important reframe I can give you on this topic is this: practice when you do not need it. You do not practice CPR for the first time when someone is in a cardiac arrest. You do not practice your free throws for the first time in overtime of the championship game. You practice the skill in calm moments so that when you actually need it, the skill is there. Here's what it looks like in practice. Find 3 or 4 micro moments in your day where you are already pausing, waiting for the kettle to boil, sitting in the car before going into work, before opening your email, before you eat. Use those moments to do something deliberate. 3 slow nasal breaths in, 3 slow exhales out. A box breath. 3 seconds in, hold for 3. 3 seconds out, hold for 3. And repeat for 1 minute. Let's take a moment for a quick nervous system reset. This is box breathing. 4 sides, equal counts. It's a simple way to tell your brain and body we're safe enough to downshift. Get comfortable. You can be sitting or standing. Unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders. Put one hand on your belly if you want a little feedback. Let's breathe in through the nose. Inhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Good. Let's do it again. Inhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Great job. One more round. Inhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Nice. Now let your breathing return to normal. Quick note, if you feel lightheaded, shorten the counts, skip the beats, and just do a slow inhale and a longer exhale. That's it. 1 minute and you've just practiced control of the dial. Enjoy your break. A full body check-in scan from head to toe. Hug your partner, your kid, or your puppy dog, and take 3 long, slow breaths together. A specific one I love and recommend without reservation, the dog meditation. Get your dog on your lap or on the floor next to you. Hold them. Take 3 long, slow breaths while you feel them breathe. There is genuinely interesting data on human-animal interaction and parasympathetic tone. Cortisol drops, heart rate variability improves, but honestly, even if there weren't, you and the dog will both be better for it. Why am I making such a big deal of all of this? Because when the actual stressor hits, the bad email, the patient who codes, the kid who has a meltdown in the supermarket, the spouse who is having a bad day, or the boss who is on a power trip, you will not rise to the level of your good intentions. you will fall to the level of your training. If you have never practiced downregulating your nervous system in calm moments, you will have no access to that skill in the storm. And the chronic stress data is unequivocal. Chronic sympathetic overdrive is associated with increased cardiovascular risk, increased systemic inflammation, accelerated cognitive decline, and worse sleep, which feeds back into worse stress, which feeds back into worse sleep, and will get you into a loop that grinds you down over decades. This skill is not optional, and it's not fluff. This skill is a clinical intervention with a measurable physiologic signature. Practice it when you do not need it. So when you do, it already works. Before I send you off, I want to spend 2 minutes on the architecture. You will notice I started with the primary care physician and then moved to diet, exercise, sleep, and stress. The order matters. The primary care physician is foundational because they are the only one who can see your whole picture. Your bloods, your family history, your social context, your medication list, and tell you which of the next 4 pillars deserves the most of your attention this year. A 78-year-old with osteopenia and a falls history needs a different plan than a 32-year-old with prediabetes and a newborn at home. Without a PCP, you are building the rest of your playbook in the dark. Then diet, because for the population I see in the ED, the dietary pattern is the single biggest driver of cardiometabolic disease that brings people through my doors. Then exercise, because exercise is the closest thing we have to a pan-disease intervention, and it compounds with the dietary changes. Then sleep, because sleep is what allows the dietary and exercise interventions to actually translate into recovery and adaptation instead of just stress. Then stress management, because chronic sympathetic overdrive is the gasoline on the fire of every other risk factor we just talked about. And nothing else from the tier 2 world, no supplement, no peptide, no cold plunge, no sauna, no wearable earns a single dollar of your attention until those 5 are locked in. That is the architecture, that is the playbook. I want to leave you with one action and one resource. The action is this: go to drcois.com and click the link for free resources. You'll find the 16-week Recapture Your Health roadmap. It is built directly out of everything we have covered across season 1. The dietary swaps, the exercise template, the sleep checklist, the stress micro habits, and the structured way to engage with your primary care physician. There's nothing to buy, it's free. You will also find training programs, meal plans, and the guided relaxation tracks we built to go with this episode. Pick one of those 5 pillars, whichever one you know is your weakest right now, and follow the first 2 weeks of the roadmap for that pillar. Just 2 weeks. Do not try to overhaul everything at once. That is the single best predictor of failure in behavior change. The other action is the one I have been begging you to take all season. If you do not have a primary care physician, get one this week. Call your insurer, get the list, book the appointment, even if it's months out, put it on the calendar, start the clock. And when you do see your PCP, here is what I would suggest you ask them based on this episode. Ask them to review your dietary pattern with you and flag any obvious gaps. Ask them about your current exercise prescription and whether it is appropriate for your age and risk profile. Ask them if your sleep is on their radar. Most PCPs will be delighted that you brought it up. Ask them about your stress and your mental health. And ask them which screening tests are due for you this year, and book them before you leave the office. That is the conversation that changes your trajectory. Let's bring it home. This season, we have walked through a lot of stories. A 34-year-old with incidental fatty liver looking at us across the cubicle, wondering how it got to this. A gentleman in his 50s with an NSTEMI who, on the way out, asked the question every cardiac patient asks: could I have prevented this? An 84-year-old woman with a hypertensive emergency because her insurance booted her from her position of 20 years. A shift worker, yours truly, with a skull for their recovery score. An older gentleman on Social Security paying for a supplement while he ate his lunches at the senior center. Every one of these stories is a version of a question. And that question is, when did the disease start and could have anything been done to change its course? The answer almost every time is yes. And the change almost every time lives in one of those 5 tier 1 pillars we just walked through. It's not in a bottle, it's not in a peptide. In the boring, repeated, daily choices that don't get the views or engagement on social media. I'm not going to pretend it is easy. I'm a 41-year-old shift work ED doc with 2 kids and a long list of things I have not yet got around to. I am running this playbook on myself in real time, and there are days I do not get it right either. The goal is not perfection. The goal is direction. Pointing the next decade of your life at fewer bad days and more good ones. And then taking the small steps that get you there. This is the end of season 1. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you have been here for the ride. Season 2 will pick up soon with new cases, new evidence, new myth busting, and yes, a few of the tier 2 deep dives a lot of you have been asking for. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the launch. Until next time, head over to drcois.com, grab the 16-week roadmap, book that PCP appointment, and pick one tier 1 pillar to work on this fortnight. I'm Dr. Cois. Let's chase less bad days and more good decades together. I'll see you in season 2.